Good evening.
Please.
Today we want to do a video on what exactly happened to you in Dungarvan those some years ago. What was behind it?
Yeah, well, it was a difficult time, and this is actually the first time I ever spoke about it, to be honest with you. And I'm only speaking about it with you because you're a good friend of mine, and I see what you're actually doing with exposing a lot of these things. So I've agreed to do this. So this happened back in 2007. I was a town councillor in Dungarvan. And Michael Ryan, who was a businessman in Dungarvan, quite a wealthy businessman, he was doing a lot for the town. And he was bringing in jobs for the town because the Glambia site shut down, the glass factory shut down, the leather factory shut down. Were the same. So we were broadcasting it on newspaper, the news, different things. It was great for the town. And what happened then was I was going through a marriage breakup. I was actually after meeting another girl, and my marriage broke down. I left the home. I was having a terrible time with my ex-wife. The house that I was renting at the time, she drove a car, smashed into the side of the house. She came in, attacked us, wrecked that. But anyhow, long story short, I couldn't really live in the town any longer because I just couldn't. So I made the decision to leave for Australia for 12 months. And when I come back, hopefully my ex-wife would have got on with things. It's a long story there. I don't really want to get into it right now. So when I was in Australia, I got a call from my mother to say that I'm all over the papers. I didn't know anything about it. It was to do with corruption. I received a corrupt payment from Michael Ryan. And I rang the Garda station in Dungarvan, and the superintendent was on the phone, and he didn't know what this was about. He didn't see the papers or anything. I left it at that. So a couple of months later, I got a call then from these guards in Dungarvan. They wanted to fly to Australia to interview me. I didn't know what it was about. They said, oh, it was to do with corrupt payment. I was totally lost, didn't know what it was about. And I said, there's no point in flying to Australia on taxpayers' money. I was coming back to Ireland for a wedding, and I will drop in and talk to you then. So I did come back to Ireland for the wedding, and I was arrested. And at the same time, Michael Ryan was also arrested. And I didn't know that at the time. I was hauled in, questioned for 24 hours. They said I received a corrupt payment from Michael Ryan. I said, this is crazy. This is ridiculous. This is not true at all. I explained my side of it. I said, Michael Ryan gave me a loan because we were doing some work on the house. I was out one night and I did mention it to him. It was the boom times. And he said, well, if you're going to remortgage, he said, what I'll do is I'll lend you the money. When you remortgage, you can pay it back. And I said, yeah, great, because I didn't want to lose my builder. And what happened then was I got a call from the bank manager. I went in. He transferred it from his account into my account. I signed the thing. The papers from the solicitor, just prove it was a loan and everything like that, and had to be paid back.
Let me go back. You said you didn't want to lose your builder. What do you mean by that?
It was the boom times. So if I didn't pay the builder, he would have went off and got a job somewhere else, because this was the boom times. And
it was hard to get tradesmen.
Very, very hard, yeah.
Okay.
And very expensive at the time. And everything was fine. I explained all this to the guards. I thought that would be the end of it. It was a mix-up or whatever. They kept questioning me about different things and that, and they said, oh, you were promoting it. And I said, of course I was. I was a town councillor. I said, jobs for the town. And he said, oh, you were pushing it to get it done in the county. I said, I have no powers in the county. I said, I'm a town councillor. I said, this was all happening in the county. And then they started saying, oh, this was a corrupt payment. I said, it's ridiculous. I said, a corrupt payment where it's traced from his account to my account and all the paperwork is there. I said, I don't understand.
You would sign paperwork not to receive this money?
Yeah, from his lawyer, and it had to be paid back.
It was a very bad executed corrupt payment by the sounds of it.
Well, from from what I hear in other stories and things like that, a corrupt payment is supposed to be handed to you in a brown envelope. That's where the brown envelope thing came with in Ireland. So it was a terrible time.
Can I ask you a question? Hey, back up a second. We'll ask you a question. And where did they get this information regarding the payments? Who gave that information to the newspaper?
Well, years, because maybe a year later, I actually found out that that this story was put together with my ex-wife and John Deasy. Now,
John Deasy, the Fine Gael,
yeah,
which would have been a colleague of yours.
yeah, it was a friend of mine at the time. I considered him a good friend of mine at the time. He became a TD, and he asked me to take his seat on the town council. At the time, I said I wouldn't be interested in doing it. My ex-wife at the time, she said, "Oh, you should do it. It'd be great, this and the other thing." So yeah, I took it up. And he did say to me, he said, "You know, on a Saturday night when we're out, you do come up with a lot of very good topics that I bring up on the radio the next day, and we get good publicity out of it, you know." So he said, I think you'd be perfect for the job. So when I took the job, I had a lot of local people that I knew that were asking me to, you know, help with this, that, and the other thing. And I was told by Fine Gael, you know, don't help them, they're Fianna Fáil, or don't help them because and that's not why I was there. And I made that clear. I said, I'm representing the people of the towns.
And it would come from, Fine Gael would tell you, do not work with someone because they're from a different city,
Exactly.
or they're from the top of the town or whatever, and they wouldn't,
Yeah.
they don't vote Fine Gael, so don't help them.
Yeah. I went out to John Deasy's father, who was an ex-minister, and he had a big list of nearly everybody in the town of who to help and who not to help. And I just said to him, I said, I will help people that will come up to me because I'm representing the people of the town. I pushed very hard to get the park in Abbey Side, which was a complete dump at the time, to be revamped. I got that. Local areas like Childers Estate, Cattle Brew, people like that, they were always nice to me, good people as far as I was concerned. And I helped to get, you know, at the time to get the PVC windows in, get the roads around the estates resurfaced, and that's what I was doing.
So you went out to school with most of those
course,
people at
yeah.
the same time.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. John Deasy is someone that I'm really interested in. I know a lot about the corruption involved in this particular man at this stage, but why was it in John Deasy's interest to actually do this? What was behind that? There's always a story, like why was he motivated, like
It always played on my mind, and even in time in prison, which was a dark part of my life, that my ex-wife went to him. They put this story together. The time it came out in the papers when I was in Australia, I know now that it was facts from John Deasy's office in Dungarvan.
it was fact from Deasy's office in Dungarvan.
And that's when it came out.
To what news? To just the local papers?
No, national papers. This was front page national papers. Yeah.
So Deasy really wanted to pull the rug.
Yeah, you see, at the time when all of this was being put together behind my back, they knew I was going to Australia, and I spoke to my kids at the time, and they left me go to Australia. So when I was in the airport, John Deasy rang me, threatened me to, you know, step down from or give up my seat in the town council, and that I had a lot of things going on in my head. That was the last thing in my head to do. And I was after writing out a letter, signed it, and I faxed it to him. That's all he wanted. I went to Australia.
But that was a resignation letter you put on his
Yeah.
face. I'm out of here. I have other issues now.
Yeah.
Personal issues, and I'm going to sort these out.
Exactly. Yeah. My life was probably turned upside down. And so I went to Australia, came out in the papers, and that's when I was totally confused. But I found out later it was John Deasy. And now I actually know why this all happened. John Deasy has friends in the area where this development was going on.
Whereabouts was this development?
This was just outside the town, going into the county border with a place called Ballygagan.
Ballygagan is to the north of Dungarvan, is it?
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And
no.
and I saw the like what was going on out there, and there was a few times where John Deasy arranged with his friends that were living out there. They had big houses out there, the farms out there, obviously a nice view out there. That he arranged a meeting with his friends and me, and they were just saying, "Stay away from that project. We're totally against it." And to me, it was, "Hang on, I'm representing the people of the town, and there's jobs coming into the town. Okay.
Of course.
I know a lot of people in the glass factory that lost their jobs. And if this is going to bring jobs to the town, I'm all for it, you know, and that's what I said to them. Now I have no power in voting on the county or anything like that, just the town. And I found that a little bit strange as well. And I also found that John Deasy was kind of drawn back a little bit from it. And when I left my wife and that, I actually got a call from Enda Kenny, who was the Taoiseach at the time. And his words were, "We have you earmarked to be a senator, get back with your wife and keep your bit on the side." And
You say that again?
keep your bit on the side, because I was actually in
So-
relation.
So Kenny was saying, okay, let's go towards the very end of this. What actually happened? You served your time. How long exactly did you do? How many months did you do? And what happened after that?
Well, I had 4 years with 2 suspenders. So I was locked up for, I think you have to serve like 50% of your time in prison before you can even apply to get to an open prison, I think like that. So I served my full sentence. And while I was serving my full sentence, my legal team then had to go to the High Court to try and sort it out that my appeal did not go in, and they were trying to get that, and it was knocked and knocked and knocked until finally we got it that we could appeal. So we appealed then in the Supreme Court.
Had your sentence been completed when this happened?
This was going on for about 1.5 years, so I finished my sentence.
Okay.
I was out. I was actually had to do community service then, and I was finished everything, and I was free. So then, when we got it in the Supreme Court, it was up in front of 7 judges, and it was an amazing day, because it was that was the day that I won and cleared my name. And what people didn't really understand was, like, Michael Ryan and I were arrested for corrupt payments. They split the 2 cases. So I was trialed first, and I was jailed for
Accepting a payment.
Yeah. His trial, he won his trial, so he was actually found not guilty of giving a corruption.
Giving a payment. So the person giving you a payment said that the state...
They were found not guilty.
That never happened.
Yeah.
But you were imprisoned for taking the payment.
Yeah.
When the person giving the payment was saying...
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
And he came out of prison. He came out of the court. I was still in prison at the time. And the first words that were out of his mouth was, "There's an innocent man in prison that needs to be freed." And I thought that day that I was going to be home. I was going to be home that evening. It never happened. I still went on for another year, another half year after that. And when it got to the Supreme Court and I won it, one of the judges came down and shook my hand and said, "I'm really sorry for what happened to you." She said, "There is a law that I'm after writing up and in place that this will never happen to anybody again." And it was called something like Forsey's Law or something like that. Now, they said that there was, I think, 30 days or something that the state can actually appeal it. But she said, "I don't think that'll happen." And I was away in business at the time because I was trying to get back on my feet. And I got a call from my lawyer, and he said, "You've won it. They're not appealing. They're free, man. You've cleared your name," all of that. And he said, "I'm being bombarded with TV and things like that for you to do an interview." And I said, "If it's the Irish media and that, I'm doing no interview. Never." I said I was never doing an interview for the Irish media.
I think you were right there. I mean, the Irish media it is like the media, I guess, of North Korea. I mean, again, there's no such thing as a free media in Ireland anymore.
I've learned.
I mean, when I started making these videos, I always knew Ireland was corrupt. I knew that the corruption was at a different level. I mean, I have traveled all over the world, done work in South America and Africa and Asia. And, it's people ask me, they say to me, "Oh, my country is really corrupt." I had this conversation with a couple of politicians in Nigeria one day in Lagos. And we were drinking a pint of Guinness that was brewed actually in Nigeria, and they were saying, "Your country is great. Your country is a beacon of hope for the rest of the world." I said, "No, it's not." And he said, "But it's not corrupt like our country." I said, "Ireland have perfected corruption. It has perfected. It's the most corrupt country in the world. It is you know, and people outside of Ireland don't seem to understand that. I see a lot of family like in Australia and family in America, and they look at Ireland, they think it's just quite an innocent country. I mean, our government is the mafia.
Yeah, I could agree more. I mean, it's a very brainwashed country, which is crazy. Like when I think back at the day, it was like a religion to watch the news in the morning, news at day during the day, news in the evening, and the same with getting the papers. And yeah, it's very controlled. I mean, one of the things that really stuck in my mind was when I won this in the Supreme Court and I came outside. I thought there would be floods of media out there. This is me. I won. I cleared my name. One photographer sent me outside the door, and I said to him, "You might take a decent picture this time because every single thing through my tile, there was pictures that I was going, that's not me. That's not me." They take about 80,000 pictures and pick the worst picture, of course, make you look guilty all the time. You know.
Yeah.
So there was nothing in the newspapers. There was a small little bit in one of the newspapers, and that was it. So the majority of my life from there on was people didn't know I cleared my name. I got a very good job in Sweden for a skincare company. I was doing very, very well. And I got a call to say that one of the directors Googled my name and I lost that job. I got another job then. I was working for a company in Hong Kong and the same thing. They Googled my name because they all of the reports that were on it. Even though I said I cleared my name
and even today, I guess, like, you know, somebody's going to Google, they're going to come up with this instead of, and it's hard to find that you were actually acquitted of all this.
You see, the thing about it was everything I went through. I lost everything. I was in prison. I was going to end my life 3 times when I was in prison. I went through all of that. I fought to clear my name. I've cleared my name. And this still haunts me to this day, years and years later. Every single thing that I've been doing, Google the name, that's it, lost every time. Because even though the media will start putting out, whatever stories they hear, they'll throw it out there. It's stuck on the internet. Not one person in the media actually contacted me to say, listen, we're really sorry about that. You know, I'd like to do something to give your side of the story. Or we're going to take it down off the internet now because, you know, you've won and you did go through prison for a crime that was never committed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there should be something today, I think, with, you know, we're very fast to put warnings on something on social media that, you know, read this, that, you know, this is 50% true or whatever it may be, right? I mean, it should be something else on the internet. I do the same thing.
I spoke to my barrister about it, like, I'd say it was maybe 6 months after I won it. And he said, look, you can go to a law firm. It's going to cost you a lot of money. They try and take it down and that. It's very simple. The reporters that put it up, they can actually delete it off the thing. I discussed then about compensation because that was the last thing in my mind. I just wanted to get on with my life. And with compensation, he said to me, he said, it could take 10 to 15 years before you get anything, and it'll cost you €500,000. So he said, you're probably better off. Forget about it. Just get on with your life. So that's what happened to me.
On a final note, what do you think about John Deasy today?
I think what he did to me was very, very sneaky. I think he probably did this thinking that I would stay in Australia and never come back. But because I was innocent and I came back, it was like a snowball after that. And like, I know he's living with that guilt. And I hope it's eating him up inside because what I went through, he could not go through that. He would not survive for what I went through. I left all of that hatred back in prison. I didn't carry it with me through life. I think he was very, very sneaky. I don't know what he has done with the town. He was always portraying himself as this squeaky clean, great politician. Like his wife at the time, I don't know if they're still married or not, Maura Duran, she was a good person. And her career could have been taken to the next level. But it was all about John Deasy's career. You know, he didn't really support him much on it, you know. And I know this for a fact because she said it. And I know this, you know. And but he's just a very, very sneaky person. Just going back before we finish up, when I went to meet his father, when I became the town councillor at the time, his father said to me, he said, the worst thing about John, he said, is going to be his mouth. And yeah, I think his father was right.
Yeah. On that note, again, thank you very much. And please subscribe and follow our links, again, to expose more of the problems that are actually going on the island of Ireland. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Gail.